Let's go through the process of how I made Jett's voice filter for the helmet. Here in FMOD, I have my mixing desk for all of the character dialogue in the game, so each of these tracks is a different voice actor. And if we go to Jett's, we notice that I have a couple different effects on here. When I receive the voice lines, I edit them in Reaper and then bring them into FMOD. But in FMOD, I will make some like final changes to kind of make everything sort of glue together, make everything seem more cohesive. But for Jett's voice filter, I wanted to do the effect in FMOD and have it be done live while the game is running, because I didn't want to have to keep modifying his voice filter and exporting all of the lines every time I wanted to make a little bit of a change. So whenever I wanted to change something about the voice filter, all I had to do was change it in the effects down here. So all of Jett's voice lines in FMOD are just the raw original voice lines, and they're being affected live. Shout out to Standpie for the amazing performance of Jett, by the way. I'm going to be showing off just mainly one line as an example here, but here is Jett's line in the prologue, how it sounds with the voice filter.
Put your detective hat on, buddy! We're here to solve a mystery!
And if I turn off the two effects that I have on his voice, this is what his voice sounds like without the filter.
Put your detective hat on, buddy! We're here to solve a mystery!
How I was able to get his voice sound like it was inside of a helmet is basically with these two effects. We'll talk about the second effect that's being applied first, because I feel like it's the most important one here, which is this multiband EQ. An EQ is essentially just something that modifies the frequencies of an audio signal. And what we're doing here is we're rolling off a lot of the high ends of his voice while accentuating a lot of frequencies around 300 or 400 hertz. What this is doing is basically mimicking the fact that a helmet, as you're wearing it, is going to cut off a lot of the high-end frequencies of your voice. And this boost right here in this like lower mid-range frequency is to boost the fact that inside of the helmet there's going to be a resonance that is just going to sort of reverberate within there. So I wanted to accentuate that. This boost here also helps so that you can understand a little bit more of what he's saying, so that his voice is not just completely muffled and you can't really understand what he's saying behind the mask. Well, that does most of the work. One detail I wanted to add was this reverb here, which is essentially going to create the sound of his voice echoing throughout his helmet, which there's not going to be a lot of that happening. So I have the reverb time turned almost all the way down, as far down as I can, to create this really tiny space. And I have the wet level, the affected signal level, turned down by 20 dB. I barely want this effect to be heard. It's a very subtle detail that's being added, but by itself on his voice, it sounds like this.
Put your detective hat on, buddy! We're here to solve a mystery!
And with the EQ, it sounds like this.
Put your detective hat on, buddy! We're here to solve a mystery!
And this is being done live while the game is happening. So yeah, that's how I created Jett's voice filter in the prologue of Project Eden's Garden.